we already warmed up. It's a fucking architecture. It's well designed. It's a plan that is about to take off. You know, a country is entering deep, dangerous waters when the president stops pretending to care about democracy and they start romanticizing dictatorship. Like, who does that? Anyway, you know who does that? William Samoei Ruto, our president, the president of Kenya. And he's not the only president that we've seen lately romanticizing dictatorship. Even the president of the US, Donald Trump, he is fascinated with dictatorship. What is so good about dictatorship? Have you seen Uganda and the president who is... Anyway, I don't want to talk about that because the guy is still youthful, energetic, and, he got better plans for the country. But now, let's talk about Kenya, where our president is fascinated with dictatorship. Dictatorship doesn't come wearing the combat boots or the Gideon boots. It comes wearing things like the fake promises, like the road to Singapore. It comes wearing things like economic speeches. It comes also with speeches of patriotism. Someone saying, I'm patriotic because I want to take you to Singapore. Listen to this.
We have two ways of implementing our agenda. The countries that have succeeded, either they have succeeded because they are a dictatorship, where once the leader says we are going here, you cannot say no and you cannot question. That is one way of moving the country forward. For us, we don't have that luxury.
Kwa sababu si mnajua nilipatiwa panga pale, nilipatiwa sword kubwa hivi. Kwani mnafikiri hiyo sword ni ya kukata mboga? Si ni ya kufyeka wakora hawa? Ndawafyeka kabisa.
This is the Ruto, a dictator, one who does not care so long as his interest is served. This housing levy is serving no other person.
What is the difference between that kind of a speech and someone who is actually fascinated of becoming a dictator? Because if someone wants to become a dictator, they don't tell you, I'm becoming a dictator. That's how they start, with a dream that sounds like a promise, sounds like a development plan. When a sitting president makes those kind of speeches and they convince you that the developing countries needs a dictator who listens to nobody. He doesn't listen to advisors. He doesn't listen to public participation. He doesn't listen to anybody going on the street and saying that we don't want this, we don't want that. Because they tell you development is more important than you thinking that you need something that is good for you. They make you believe that what you need is what they decide. Haven't we learned? This is not leadership theory, my guy. This is power rehearsal through a microphone, literally telling you that I'm romanticizing that power. History has taught us one brutal lesson, that every dictator, at first, they never started with dictatorship. They first started by convincing their citizens that freedom is the problem. This is too much freedom here. This is the problem. So you believe that freedom is the problem so that they can allow dictatorship to slide in style. They convince their citizens that power must never change hand so that we must never lose development. Because if power changes hand, I heard one guy talking about, this is Atwoli. You all know Atwoli. Atwoli was saying that we should not change presidents because that's what is making us go back. Because one president comes, they start development, another one comes, they start again. Why can't we have a commission that is stationed or that is created, and this commission doesn't move with the change of government? They remain constant with the development plans that were placed there, as long as it's for the wellness and the betterment of the country, of the people. Like Vision 2030. Where is Vision 2030? It was a really great plan for the Kenyan people. But every president believes that they must come and bring change. The change that they believe is good for the people. Vision 2030 was a good plan to transform Kenya into a first world country, a developing country. See what dictators do. At first, they don't even overthrow their constitution. No, they slowly convince you that, you don't need to follow the constitution. We need to bend the laws a little bit so that, we can bring about development. They make you abandon constitution and rule of law voluntarily. And that's why they take over the judiciary, they take over the parliament, they take over the police. The influence of the executive literally controls everything. So what is left for the citizens? You can speak nothing because the police have taken over. You can say nothing because you'll be taken to court. You can't criticize. You can't basically even do tough scrutiny to the sitting presidency because you'll be taken to court. Who owns the court? The people who are controlled by the executive. You see how it works? We all have this fantasy of a good dictator, and African politics love this one bedtime story about the benevolent dictator, that good dictator, that strong man who comes in and suffers for everybody, fixes systems, build roads, bring about infrastructure. And then one day they wake up and say, "Ooh, let me hand over power peacefully to the next person." That's a very good story, but we all know it's a fictional story. And we are yet to see it in the Sahel side of West Africa, where we have the Mali, Burkina Faso, and we have this Niger. We are yet to see it with Ibrahim Traoré. I think Ibrahim Traoré is the best example of a benevolent dictator because we believe he's trying to fix the nation. He's trying to do this. He's done that. He's building roads. But is he going to hand over power peacefully and restore the act of democracy in Niger? We are yet to see this. We are yet to record this in history. But this is the fantasy that most of us have. In Africa, we don't get benevolent dictators. We get something else. We get dictators without discipline. We get power without restraints. They can do anything. They don't even respect the rule of law. We get leadership without accountability. This is what we get in Africa. We literally import dictator and we forget benevolence. Where do we leave benevolence from the dictatorship? Because that's the fantasy that we have. Look at the kind of government that we have. Look at the traits. Look at the patterns of respecting the rule of law. Is this the kind of a government that you want to term benevolent and believe that they will hand over power peacefully if they became the dictator? And oh boy, do we love bedtime stories. We love mentioning Singapore and China and all these growing countries. Like right now we have the road to Singapore. But there's one fact and one brutal truth that we never talk about, that Singapore and China did not develop because one man was powerful. It worked because institutions were powerful and they were strengthened beyond the individual power or beyond the individual strength. But what do we get in Africa when we think of a benevolent dictator? We get a strong man, one-man army. We get his friends, Kina Farouk, Kibet. We get his relatives. We get a family that is controlling basically everything. They own more than the 50 million people. We get 125 people who are rich more than 50 million people. We get all this. It's the same title, but a completely different substance. Now, you see where the difference is. The same people that give us that part of struggling country that is forced to adjust, they say we need to adjust our belts. Are they adjusting their belts? Why are they using billions of money to renovate State House? Why are they using billions of money for breakfast, tea and mandazi? Why is there no capitation for school kids? The kids who are supposed to become the leaders of tomorrow. The kids who are the future of tomorrow. Why is there no better healthcare that is supposed to keep people healthy so that we can look for more money? But you don't ask these questions because they force you to adjust. They force you to believe that things like SHA is working. Yes, it's working for a few, and it's designed to be like that. That's why even if we lost 11 billions in SHA, there's nobody who's going to be held accountable because that's how systems work. That's Africa. That's the kind of fantasy that we have of a benevolent dictator. Then we talk about Singapore. Are we using the same blueprint that Singapore used? Are we going to use the same blueprint? But let me portray a picture of an African benevolent dictator in context. Have you seen the country close to Kenya? Yes, talking about Uganda. Look at Uganda, a beautiful country. I've been there. But the Ugandan people have been convinced to believe that change of power is bad for development. That change of power and freedom of speech and their constitution is the problem. People are not the problem. The leaders are not the problem. It's the freedom. It's the problem. Same thing in Tanzania. Did you see what happened in Tanzania last year, October 29th, when they had elections? They were literally forced. Forced to accept Samia Suluhu as their president. She was even sworn in a military camp, in a military base, where no civilian can enter. And now, they are forced to adjust. You see what I'm talking about? That's the benevolence that we lack in the dictatorship. And we still fantasize and romanticize dictatorship. While we look at the East Africa, how is the formation of East Africa? They are literally using the same blueprint for governance. And now, when I look at Kenya heading into 2027, I'm going to say that I'm sorry for my country because the blueprint is already there. It's already laid out. Whatever that we saw in Uganda, the turning off of the Wi-Fi, turning off of the internet. And you know what the president of Uganda said when he was asked about the switching off of the internet? Listen.
We are the ones who built the internet, the one you are talking about. We are the ones who built it. So the shutting it down is because of dealing with criminals who want to use that infrastructure to destabilize our country.
They own the internet and they can turn it on and off as if it's a bulb or it's a whatever, because the voice of the people doesn't matter, because they are meant to believe that too much freedom is the problem. It's not Museveni. Same thing happened in Tanzania. Same thing happened in Kenya last year, June. 2025, June. We saw the same thing happen, the same blueprint. The Safaricom, the trusted institution by the people, organization that is supposed to help the people, turned off the internet. And you know what happens when they do that. But the truth of the matter is you cannot hide in truth for too long because it's like a bubble. It will still... Now you see where we're headed with this. Do we still need dictatorship in Africa? Do you believe that too much freedom is the problem? So it's not leadership. It's not broken promises. It's not corruption. Corruption is not the problem in Africa. It's too much freedom. That's why we need a dictator. According to a sitting president, they believe that you don't need the freedom of speech to speak about anything. What you need is dictatorship to govern you. You see where the problem is? When a dictator wants to become a dictator, they won't warn you. They won't warn us. No, they will make jokes about it. They will warm us up. We are already being warmed up. We are already being warmed up. Trust me. Look at whatever is happening around. judiciary appointments, they look so friendly, eh? You think it's by an accident? No. Look at the IEBC appointments. They look so friendly, eh? So you think it's by an accident. Let me tell you. Look at the independent institutions like the parliament and the police. They are so weak. They cannot act on their own. They basically act upon the directives of the executive. We already warmed up. It's a fucking architecture. It's well designed. It's a plan that is about to take off come 2027 if we do not do something about it. And what can we do? We're not going to hold guns and go in the streets. It's for us to take votes in numbers, especially for the young people of any country. Take your votes. Stand for your right. Select the people who deserves to lead you. People with integrity. Why do we need to bring back the people who have corruption cases? People who have been in politics and they've done nothing. Why do we need to bring in the same people? Then we leave the rest of the 5 years or 10 years if they become dictators complaining. Take your voting cards. Vote in the right people who deserves leadership. People with zero corruption cases. People with integrity. People with principles of leadership. But someone who was feeling like they can become a dictator, telling you, countries need dictatorship. This is a person who thinks that he's the Google. He thinks he's the Wikipedia and the Constitution combined. I'm Mr. Know Everything. Nobody can tell me nothing. My guy, you're not shit. You're just a WhatsApp group admin with riot police. And that's what you're romanticizing, calling benevolent dictatorship. We don't have none in Africa. None that I can think of. Even though the picture of Ibrahim Traore still comes in my mind. But I still believe that. I don't know. We are yet to see if he will hand over power peacefully when the time comes. If he does, history would have proven us wrong. Because the brutal lesson we've learned from history is that they usually convince you that freedom is a problem. So what's the best thing to do? We cannot hand over power. Power must remain in hand. Don't change power. To be honest, if we were to have a good dictator, they will need to restrain their own power. They will need the capability to jail their own friends. They will need to have zero tolerance for corruption. They will need to strengthen the systems. They will need all that. They will need integrity. They will need to fight corruption. Knuckle to knuckle, bare hands. Us, us, us. Have we seen our institutions? Are they strengthened or personalized? Is our institution strengthened or personalized? That name is very difficult. Has corruption been, fought, or it has just changed ownership? Have you seen the close allies prosecuted or they are being protected? Ask these questions. Ask these questions. Then now you know if we are ready for a good dictator. Because what we are trying to do is thinking that we can fight alcoholism by launching an anti-alcohol campaign or an anti-alcohol unit while we are inside a bar. Doesn't make sense? That's how we fight corruption. Using people who are corrupt. How are we going to fight that? Even if we created budgets that are meant to fight corruption. Institutions that are meant to fight corruption. How is that going to happen while the whole system is engraved in corruption? Tell me. We have seen this movie in East Africa for the longest time possible. Probably most of us were not even born when they started directing this kind of a movie, The Dictator, where they blame the media, they blame the people, they blame the courts, They blame the civil society. They say that civil society is funded by the Western or by the Ford Foundation. We've had it. It's a movie. It's a script. It's the same script where they talk about the Ford Foundation, the Western media is funding the maandamano, the protests, and all that. It's the same script they've been using. It's the same script they use. And then the elections are always procedural. That's why there's no competition. If a competitor, especially in countries like Uganda, emerge, they are either arrested, they go to jail with treason or whatever. You've seen it in Tanzania. We saw it in Uganda. So Uganda tried it. Tanzania rehearsed it. The other countries are going to perfect it. And the results are always the same. They want stability for the leader, not the country. They want stability for the leader. They say, we care about the stability of our nation. No, stability for you. And for the people, it's silence. Remain silent. If you ask me my own opinion, or rather my perspective of the whole dictator kind of a thing, I'll tell you that development without freedom is just a well-organized suffocation. People don't even realize when they are being suffocated because we are forced to adjust. We are told to adjust. We are told that country needs stability. That word, we need stability. But stability means silence for the people. The question that I want you to ask yourself, do we need a dictator? Does any country in Africa, in East Africa, Sahel Africa, any country in Africa, do we need a dictator? Be it a benevolent dictator, be it just a dictator. Let me hear your comments below. And if you like my content, don't forget to share, hit the sub, the bell, whatever the things that you're going to hit there. And if you're willing to support my podcast, you're welcome. And I really do appreciate everything that you do for me.